Costa Rica is a beautiful country situated at the tip of South America. The country is full of unique wildlife and volcanic formations, and its people are among the happiest on Earth. It's a place known for its many unique archaeological sites, such as the ancient city of Guayabo, which was inhabited more than 3,000 years ago. The city was home to a now-lost culture with advanced development in civil engineering, architecture, and urbanism. As mysterious as it may seem, to this day, no one knows who this culture was, where they came from, and where they disappeared to. Unlike other pre-Columbian cities and cultures that were documented by early explorers, this culture disappeared a century before the arrival of the Spanish explorers, and no one knows why. The only reason we even know anything about them is because of the highly sophisticated aqueducts, water storage tanks, stone mounds, cobblestone roads, and various other structures left in the area. The aqueducts and water storage tanks were so well constructed that they still function today, thousands of years after their creation. And yet, as interesting and mysterious as this lost culture may be, its achievements still pale before those of another lost ancient civilization, one that left hundreds of enormous megalithic stone spheres discovered in various places around the country. Archaeologists are unsure of the original purpose behind these stone spheres and why so many of them were created. While some have suggested that the stone spheres were crafted by the pre-Columbian Diquis culture, which flourished during the 8th to 15th centuries, others deny these theories as the spheres are way too sophisticated in design, suggesting a far more ancient origin. Various alternative researchers believe that the megalithic stone spheres are the product of a now-lost technologically advanced civilization, or even by ancient extraterrestrial visitors. It all started in 1940, when a contingency of workers clearing a thick portion of the forest in the Diquis Delta region of Costa Rica came across something fascinating. As the forest land was being cleared for a new plantation for the United Fruit Company, the workers came across some very unusual stone spheres. The stone spheres lay partially buried in the forest floor, and as the workers began to clear the thick grass and shrubs from around them, they were amazed to find there were a significant amount of these unique and out-of-place artifacts. Immediately, these megalithic spheres became the prized possession of many of Costa Rica's higher class. They were placed in front of government buildings, and various United Fruit executives even placed them in their homes. The revered anthropologist John Hoopes has estimated that at least 300 of these stone spheres were discovered all across Costa Rica. While the spheres vary in size, the largest is approximately 8 feet in diameter and weighs 16 tons, whereas the smallest known sphere is no larger than a basketball. Unfortunately, many of the stone spheres were broken during their removal and transportation. Some were even blown up using dynamite during a time when their archaeological value was unrecognized. The impressive spheres are, in most cases, in an almost perfect spherical shape, which makes it unlikely that they are natural formations. Considering they were made from granodiorite, which is a considerably hard stone, researchers and archaeologists have a difficult time explaining how such huge spheres were carved out of the tough rock without any advanced technology. Experts have noticed that the monolithic stone spheres are up to 96% complexity spherical in some cases. How ancient peoples could have carved perfectly spherical rocks of this magnitude with primitive tools has perplexed archaeologists since the moment of their discovery. Many scientists agree on a rough timeline of 200 BC to 800 AD when it comes to the dating of the stone spheres. Suppose conventional archaeologists are correct in their dating of these stones, which they say were crafted around this period. How did these ancient craftsmen carve these megalithic spheres without the use of metal tools or any advanced techniques? Most researchers would agree that the dating put forward is purely speculative, as it is based on the last use of the spheres, not when they were first carved. There are some who would suggest that the spheres could be thousands of years older than what mainstream historians believe. Archaeologists and experts are often lost for words when questioned about the purpose of these stone spheres. Some will suggest that they were simply symbols of status or prestige among ancient cultures, explaining that only powerful members of the ruling class would have had such a sphere, and this would have represented their political or social status. But could this be another example of how archaeologists look at history through a modern lens? Just because the United Fruit Company members used them as status symbols, does that mean that their ancient craftsmen used them in the same fashion? Is there more to the story of these unusual spheres? Many other theories have arisen over the years. There are those that suggest they are relics related to other megalithic sites around the world, such as Stonehenge and Easter Island, and that all of these massive, unexplained sites were products of a now lost global civilization. Some suggest the spheres were navigational aids used in astronomical alignments. In ancient times, they may have been placed in particular alignments that would mirror various night sky constellations, a sort of star map. The spheres may have also been aligned to the movement of the sun and various other heavenly bodies. This may have been used in ritual practices to indicate various parts of the year concerning particular cycles. Unfortunately, many of the stone spheres have been moved from their original spots. This means researchers cannot say for sure how many of the stone spheres once lined up with the heavenly bodies, and what were they trying to depict. However, some measurements were taken over 50 years ago when the spheres were first discovered. This has enabled researchers to confirm that many of the stone balls were indeed aligned in various sequences. Sometimes they were in straight lines. Others were arranged in squares, triangles, and even parallelograms. 4 balls were even found to align perfectly with the magnetic north, indicating an advanced understanding of the Earth's natural force. Although knowledge of magnetism dates back well before 600 BC, it was only in the 20th century that scientists began to fully understand it and develop technologies based on this understanding. So how is it possible that the creators of these spheres had such an advanced knowledge thousands of years before modern civilization discovered it? Another unusual aspect of their discovery is that some of the stone spheres were found on top of artificial mounds. In our video about ancient giants, where we showed all sorts of discoveries of giant skeletons, the majority of the skeletons were found in the old burial mounds of North and South America. Does this mean that the massive stone spheres were somehow connected to the ancient race of giants mentioned by all cultures around the world? Of course, if you ask modern archaeologists, they would firmly deny it. In fact, they date the majority of the stone spheres of Costa Rica anywhere from 200 BCE to 800 CE, because this is when the settlements around the Turaba River grew in size and went through a period of cultural development. For this reason, they associate the megalithic spheres with the Diquis culture, which prospered in the Rio Grande de Turaba. This culture had complex social and political systems, and in the area they lived, we also find large buildings constructed with round boulders, paved roads, and various walled mounds. Intricate ceramics and gold objects were also discovered there, and all are tracked back to the Diquis culture. But still, the megalithic stone spheres are way too sophisticated and way too massive to be built by this culture. Various alternative researchers have argued that the stone spheres actually belong to a much older period and possibly to a now lost civilization. It's been suggested that the Diquis culture may have actually inherited many of the larger megalithic stone spheres of the area, and that they revered them for their grand size. Various local chiefs were even buried with some of the much smaller stone spheres upon their death. Upon the Spanish conquest, many of the Diquis cultures disappeared or were killed because of disease and war, leaving us with very few legends about the origins of the spheres. Following this Spanish invasion, the balls were left in the forest and jungles and were forgotten about until they were rediscovered in the 1940s. But is it possible that the stone spheres were left by an advanced lost civilization that disappeared from historical records? Well, some researchers would say yes, as Costa Rica is not the only place we find these massive spheres. In fact, giant megalithic stone balls were also found in Bolivia. and as far away as New Zealand. And the most shocking thing was in 2004, when archaeologists found a collection of similar stone spheres on the other side of the planet in Bosnia-Herzegovina. Here, the exact same large stone spheres were discovered scattered along a creek bed and among the thick bush of a forest near the town of Banja Luka. In fact, one of the spheres found partially sticking out of the ground in the town of Zavidovici was of an astonishing size. It was 10 feet wide and was weighing around 40 tons, making it the largest known stone sphere ever recorded on Earth. Initially, researchers were able to state that the large sphere has a high iron content, which could point toward a functional use for the megalith. But what this use was continues to remain a mystery. Dr. Osmanagic, also known as the Bosnian Indiana Jones, is an author and researcher best known for his work on trying to excavate the Bosnian pyramid near the town of Visoko. We have an entire video on the Bosnian pyramid, and if you want to learn more about it, you can watch the video by clicking the top right corner or the link in the pinned comment below. Of course, just like with the Gunung Padang pyramid in Indonesia, the government of Bosnia also cancelled all excavation efforts at the site, and the Bosnian pyramid remains buried and hidden from the world. However, before the excavations were cancelled, Dr. Osmanagic recorded that stone spheres had been found in over 20 different areas of Bosnia, and they were all built from some of the hardest materials on Earth, such as granite and volcanic stone, although there were some made with softer materials like sandstone. There used to be over 80 stone spheres scattered across Bosnia, but a local legend claimed gold was hidden at the core of each sphere. Thus, many of the stone spheres in Bosnia were destroyed by those searching for the valuable metal. Dr. Osmanagic is convinced that the balls were crafted in a similar fashion to those found in Costa Rica. While modern archaeologists still don't have a definite answer on whether or not the balls of Bosnia are man-made, Osmanagic is firmly convinced that they are proof that there was a connection between all of these megalithic sites scattered around the world. Dr. Osmanagic has been researching the spheres of Bosnia for over 15 years, as well as those of Costa Rica. In addition, he's visited similar-styled stone spheres in places such as western Mexico, Easter Island, Tunisia, and the Canary Islands. He's also written about stone spheres discovered in Siberia, Croatia, and Albania. So, could all these discoveries be proof of an advanced civilization forgotten in the past? Can we continue to look at these various signs of megalithic builders and advanced technology around the world as mere coincidence? Or should archaeologists begin to consider the idea that all of these out-of-place artifacts were left by some sort of advanced race? Why do we find megalithic spheres of a similar fashion in almost all of the continents around the world? Are archaeologists missing something? Could the stone spheres point towards a connection between all of these places? Conventional history books deny all of these theories and suggest the idea that the stones were either natural formations or that they were crafted through primitive means. One scientist has suggested that the granodiorite balls could have been heated using hot coals and then rapidly cooled with water. This would have made the stone brittle and easier to carve, using nothing but a smaller rock. While this was a popular theory among various traditional archaeologists, this all changed when a group of scientists working on the balls found in Bosnia made some startling discoveries. They performed chemical analysis on the stone spheres found in the Bosnian town of Zavidovici and compared them against smaller stones from the same area. What they found was astonishing. The results revealed that the stone spheres were formed artificially through a process of melting the rock down to a liquid state and then pouring the molten rock into a man-made mold. During the liquid state, the ancient alchemists would have mixed in various additives to ensure they achieved the best properties of the material. The liquid stone would then be poured into a large mold, and once dried, they would end up with near-perfect spheres. Working with these kinds of advanced techniques has caused various archaeologists, scientists, and historians to reconsider the kind of cultures that once inhabited America and Europe. Where did they learn these advanced skills in chemistry, they wondered. According to the local legends of this part of Costa Rica, the stone spheres were used as cannonballs during a great ancient war between gods. The local legend states that the god of thunder used these as weapons to drive away the god of wind and hurricanes. Is it then possible that these so-called gods were some sort of extraterrestrial beings who waged war against each other? Could this explain why there are stone spheres found in places separated by thousands of miles? Various researchers have suggested that the story of two gods waging war against each other may have its origins in a real story, one in which extraterrestrials used an unknown form of machinery or some sort of power source generated with the help of the near-perfect spheres. Maybe these beings knew how to position these stones in such a way that they began to harness the Earth's energy, in the same way that we talked about in our video about the pyramids of Giza being energy generators. If you haven't watched it, we'll leave a link to it in the comments. So, what do you think about the stone spheres found in Costa Rica and other places around the world, such as Bosnia and New Zealand? Are they the work of primitive beings using water and rocks to beat the stones into their near-perfect shape? Or is there another answer? Is it possible that an advanced civilization is behind the construction of the large monolithic stone spheres? A race with a vast understanding of chemistry that could easily melt the tough rock into a liquid state using a form of machinery or some sort of frequency energy device? Were these stone spheres used to track the stars in the night sky? Or were they used as an ancient star map for visitors from another planet, as local legends suggest? Tell us what you think in the comments below. Once again, thank you for watching. Please leave this video a like. And make sure to subscribe to our channel if you still haven't. You can also press the notification button so you don't miss our next video.